This video will cover chapters 25 and 26 of the book of 2nd Chronicles. It will cover the reign of Amaziah, who was the son of Joash. Now Joash did wonderfully as long as the high priest Jehoiada lived, and then afterwards he turned, he let in the groves, and he finally stoned the son of a prophet. And this new king is his son. Amaziah means strength of Yah, and his mother's name we will discover means whom Yah adorns. And it's a bit confusing. Joash, king of Judah, just finished a reign. You also had a Joash, who was king of Israel, who was the grandson of Jehu. The fact that the same names are used is somewhat confusing. Chapter 25, verse 1. Amaziah was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jehoaddan of Jerusalem. And as we said, whom Yah adorns, and his name, strength of Yah, too. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, but not with a perfect heart. And perfect would be complete. We're going to see that he will start out well. And in 2 Kings chapter 14, we are told, but he was not like David, like his Joash, his father. And we learn back in Kings that this king did not take those high places down. 3. Now it came to pass, when the kingdom was established to him, that he slew his servants that had killed the king his father. Now that does not mean that these are his personal servants. Anyone who was in the kingdom was his servant. And all persons, of course, were his servants. And next verse is 4. And he slew not their children, but did as it is written in the law book of Moses, where the Lord commanded, saying, The fathers shall not die for the children, neither shall the children die for the fathers, but every man shall die for his own sin. So this is almost verbatim of Deuteronomy 16 and Exodus 25. So there's no such thing as generational sin. The only thing is if we go back and read those, we will find out that it passes to the third and fourth generation if they hate me. So if we come from an atheistic background and we continue that, then yes, it continues past the first, maybe even the second generation. But any mercy, we learn in Jeremiah 31 that God shows mercy to those who love him. And it says that if the father bites a sour grape, it does set the children's teeth on edge. So we are not to fall for the idea that we can get a generational curse. We can, of course, learn from how we've been brought up, but if anyone is able and willing to make a turn to love God. 5. Moreover, Amaziah gathered Judah together and made them captains over thousands and captains over hundreds, according to the houses of their fathers, throughout all Judah and Benjamin, and he numbered them from 20 years old and above, and found them 300,000 choice men able to go forth to war that could handle spear and shield. Now he is preparing for war against the Edomites. The Edomites, of course, are descendants of Esau. And 4 generations earlier, Jehoshaphat had over 1,000,000 soldiers. This 300,000 seems like many. 6. He hired also 100,000 mighty men of valor out of Israel for 100 talents of silver. He is making himself some mercenaries, and he has not trusted that God could help him without aligning himself with peoples who worship idols. 7. There came a man of God to him. He's going to hear a word from a prophet, saying, O king, let not the army of Israel go with thee, not with Israel, to wit, with all the children of Ephraim. Ephraim, of course, means all of the 10 tribes. Ephraim was the largest of the 10 tribes, and the name Israel and Ephraim are interchangeable for that kingdom to the north. And the kings of Ephraim, it means that it was their king. 8. But if thou wilt go, do it. Be strong for the battle. God shall make thee fall before the enemy, for God hath power to help and to cast down. So he's saying you should go alone. And God shall not, that's a translation issue, and it means God can protect you or he can cause you to fall. So he is being told, don't take these people from the north, these Israelites. And Amaziah said to the man of God, But what shall we do for the 100 talents which I have given to the army of Israel? And the man of God answered, The Lord is able to give thee much more than this. So he is concerned about the money, but then he is told God can give you far much more than 100 talents of silver. 10. Then Amaziah separated them, to wit, the army that was come to him out of Ephraim, to go home again, wherefore their anger was greatly kindled against Judah, and they returned home in great anger. Oh, yes, because they expected if they were along and towns were raided, that they would be able to gather some spoils and even increase the 100 talents of silver. 11. And Amaziah strengthened himself and led forth his people and went into the valley of Salt and smote the children of Seir 10,000. And when you see Seir, it is the very same as Edom. And that valley of the Salt would be south of the Dead Sea. 12. And other 10,000 left alive did the children of Judah carry away captive, and brought them to the top of the rock, and cast them down from the top of the rock, that they all were broken in pieces. So they were defeated, and the survivors were cast over a cliff. And usually a captive people would have been taken back to the home and made slaves, but these are enemies and they are not being taken. 13. But the soldiers of the army which Amaziah sent back, that they should not go with him to battle, fell upon the cities of Judah from Samaria even unto Beth-horon, and smote 3,000 of them, and took much spoil. So these northern armies, they are angry, and they've killed 3,000 men, and Beth-horon is in Benjamin, and the border between Benjamin and Ephraim. So they have captured themselves some spoil anyway. 14. Now it came to pass after that Amaziah was come from the slaughter of the Edomites, that he brought the gods of the children of Seir and set them up to be his gods, and bowed down himself before them and burned incense. Why would he bring gods that didn't protect the Edomites and to worship them? 15. Wherefore the anger of the Lord was kindled against Amaziah, and he sent unto him a prophet, which said unto him, Why hast thou sought after the gods of the people, which could not deliver their own people out of thine hand? 16. And it came to pass, as he talked with him, that the king said unto him, Art thou made of the king's counsel? Forbear. Why shouldest thou be smitten? Then the prophet forbare and said, I know that God hath determined to destroy thee, because thou hast done this, and hast not hearkened unto my counsel. So the counsel is from God and not the prophet. And pretty well Uzziah has told this prophet, you be quiet. 17. Then Amaziah, king of Judah, took advice and sent to Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, Come, let us see one another in the face. So now he's doing another very foolish thing. He is looking to the north, and King Joash is in Israel, and as we said earlier, he is a descendant of Jehu. And he wants to see him in the face, so this means war. So there are two reasons. Is he angry about the 100,000 who killed and took spoil, or is he puffed up in pride from victorious effort against Edom? 18. And Joash the king of Israel sent to Amaziah king of Judah, saying, The thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, Give thy daughter to my son to wife. And there passed by a wild beast that was in Lebanon, and trode down the thistle. Now the thistle is a thorn bush, and here it's representing Judah, and Joash is comparing his nation to the cedars, and he is saying, you're a thistle, and who do you think you are? Then we're seeing that Joash is displaying quite a bit of pride and ego here himself. 19. Thou sayest, Lo, thou hast smitten the Edomites, and thine heart lifted thee up to boast. Abide now at home. Why shouldest thou meddle to thine hurt, that thou shouldest fall, even thou and Judah with thee? So he's saying, lift up That means pride. Thou hast thine heart lifted thee up to boast. Pride. He said, stay home. It's a warning. He's saying your ego is a whole lot bigger than your army. 20. But Amaziah would not hear, for it came of God that he might deliver them into the hand of their enemies, because they sought after the gods of Edom. Now, judgment will be coming for him because he has brought in false gods, and he has essentially told a prophet to be quiet. 21. So Joash, the king of Israel, went up, and they saw one another in the face, both he and Amaziah, king of Judah, at Bethshemesh, which belongeth to Judah. And Bethshemesh means house of the sun. And this is an idiom here, that they saw one another in the face. It means they're all ready for war. 22. And Judah was put to the worse before Israel, and they fled every man to his tent. So they fled. 23. And Joash, the king of Israel, took Amaziah, the king of Judah, the son of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, at Bethshemesh, and brought him to Jerusalem, and brake down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim to the corner gate 400 cubits. Now, you are seeing here that the king of Judah is the son of Joash, and Joash is also the name of the king to the north. Okay, now, Jerusalem has mountains on all sides except the north. And this is what is broken down here, that flat area to the north, and with that wall down, then Jerusalem is open to enemies. 24. And he took all the gold and the silver and all the vessels that were found in the house of God with Obed-Edom, and the treasures of the king's house, and hostages also, and returned to Samaria. And Samaria, of course, would have been the capital of the north. And this hostages would have been those sons of security. It would have been persons who were some of the, they took that for some insurance against war. And remember that first prophet told Amaziah not to worry about money. He said the Lord had lots more. But he has failed to listen, and all of the things in the house of the Lord and the king's house have been hauled away. House of God. 25. And Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, lived after the death of Joash, son of Jehoahaz, king of Judah, 15 years. So he's outlasted this king to the north, but there's no more strength here in Judah. He has done very poorly. 26. Now the rest of the acts of Amaziah, first and last, behold, are they not written in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel? And yes, they are in 2 Kings chapter 14. 27, to complete this chapter. Now after the time that Amaziah did turn away from following the Lord, they made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But they sent to Lachish after him and slew him there. Lachish would be south of Jerusalem. And Lachish means invincible, but he was not invincible. He was slain there. 28 to complete this chapter. And they brought him upon horses and buried him with his fathers in the city of Judah. And that those horses you can think of as something like a hearse. So they brought him, and he was buried in the city of Judah. Chapter 26, verse 1. And this is approximately 701 BC, the time frame for this. 1. Then all the people of Judah took Uzziah, who was 16 years old, and made him king in the room of his father Amaziah. It's confusing a little bit because he is called Azariah, and that means Yah has helped, and Uzziah, strength of Yah. And he's had a name change here. And remember that the Kohath, and a descendant of the Levites, also used these two names, Uzziah and Azariah. 2. And he built Elah, that's a port, and restored it to Judah after that the king slept with his fathers. And that port happens to be the Gulf of Aqaba. And Solomon and the king of Tyre built ships there to sail over to Ophir to bring back gold and silver, precious stones, peacocks and monkeys, and various things we learned earlier. 3. 16 years old was Uzziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Jecholiah, and that means God will enable of Jerusalem. A very long reign, only exceeded by Manasseh. 4. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father Amaziah did. This means all in Amaziah's early years when he was faithful and doing what he should. 5. And he sought God in the days of Zechariah. This is not the minor prophet, by the way, who had understanding in the visions of God, and as long as he sought the Lord, God made him to prosper. And we can learn from that. He's called a vision of God. This is a prophet or a seer. And the whole point of all of Chronicles is seek God and you will find him. Forsake him and he will forsake you. 6. And he went forth and warred against the Philistines, and brake down the wall of Gath, and the wall of Jabneh, and the wall of Ashdod, and built cities about Ashdod and among the Philistines. Philistines had 5 major cities. These are 3 of them. Gath, if you will recall, was the home place of Goliath. And now this Jabneh is a port city for Jerusalem this day. And when it said he built cities, what he did was fortify and put weaponry and possibly soldiers there. 7. And God helped him against the Philistines and against the Arabians that dwelt in Gerbaal and Meunim. Gurbaal means the home of Baal, of course, the false god Baal. And this city, Mehunam, is today known as Petra. 8. And the Ammonites gave gifts to Uzziah, and his name spread abroad, even to the entering in of Egypt, for he strengthened himself exceedingly. So his name is being broadcast over the world. 9. Moreover, Uzziah built towers in Jerusalem at the corner gate and at the valley gate and at the turning of the wall, and fortified them. Corner gate would be on the northwest, and that valley on the west side of Jerusalem, and that he is fortifying. Number 10. Also he built towers in the desert and digged many wells, for he had much cattle, both in the low country and in the plains, herdsmen also, and vine dressers in the mountains and in Carmel, for he loved husbandry. So he likes agriculture, and also, if you remember, so did David, and Carmel means fruitful field. 11. Moreover, Uzziah had a host of fighting men and went out to war by bands, according to the number of their account, by the hand of Jeiel the scribe, and Manasseh the ruler, under the hand of Hananiah, one of the king's captains. Hananiah would have been a general. These other two persons mentioned here in this verse would have been stewards and scribes who kept records. Number 12. The whole number of the chief of the father of the mighty men of valor were 2,600. Now that would be just the officers, not the entire fighting men. 13. And under their hand was an army, 300,000 and 7,500, that made war with mighty power to help the king against the enemy. Once again, not nearly the army that Jehoshaphat had, which was upwards of 1,000,000. 14. And Uzziah prepared for them throughout all the host shields and spears and helmets and harbions and bows and slings to cast stones. A harbion would be like a coat of mail, and it particularly protected the breast and the neck. 15. And he made in Jerusalem engines invented by cunning men to be on the towers and upon the bulwarks, to shoot arrows and great stones withal. And his name spread far abroad, for he was marvelously helped till he was strong. Now an engine would have been a catapult, and it was capable of slinging a 300-pound rock for a quarter of a mile, so it could do a great lot of damage. Also, it could sling large arrows. And we might remember in 2 Corinthians 12:8, it says, when we are weak, Paul tells us, then we are strong if we turn to God. Verse 16. But when he was strong, his heart was lifted up to his destruction, for he transgressed against the Lord his God, and went into the temple of the Lord to burn incense upon the altar of incense. Oh, now he is being taken over with pride. Should he be in the temple burning incense? No, he has acted as a priest. It's a no-no. Burning incense in the temple is the bailiwick of the sons of Aaron. He has done wrong. And when Azariah the priest went in after him, and with him fourscore priests of the Lord, they were valiant men. Remember, I told you that Azariah, who's also a name for this king here, Uzziah, that they were also priest names who were Coats. 18. And they withstood Uzziah the king and said, It appertaineth not to thee, Uzziah, to burn incense unto the Lord, but to the priests, the sons of Aaron, that are consecrated to burn incense. For thou hast trespassed, neither shall it be for thine honor from the Lord God. So he is being dressed down. He is being told the rules. The rules in Numbers 16:40, we learn that Kohath challenged Moses and Aaron. He had 250 men with censers, and the first thing that happened is that God caused those censers to be burned, and then the earth opened up and swallowed Kohath and all of his followers. And Moses took what remained of those censers they had, and they were attached to the altar of burnt offering. So don't challenge the priest and decide to make your own rules. It will not work. 19. Then Uzziah was wroth, and had a censer in his hand to burn incense, and while he was wroth with the priest, the leprosy even rose up in his forehead before the priest in the house of the Lord and beside the incense altar. Oh, he was wroth, and he had leprosy right on his forehead. And we learned back in Numbers 12 that Miriam, the sister of Moses, chastised him, and she came down with leprosy. Now, high priests had a frontlet right on their forehead, and where did this leprosy appear? Right on his forehead. Verse 20. And Azariah the chief priest and all the priests looked upon him, and behold, he was leprous in his forehead, and they thrust him out from thence. Yea, himself hastened also to go out, because the Lord had smitten him. The leprosy is from the Lord. The very word in the Hebrew means struck. And he was cast out, Leviticus 13, because a leper would defile the temple. 21. And Uzziah the king was a leper unto the day of his death, and dwelt in several houses, being a leper, because he was cut off from the Lord, from the house of the Lord. And Jotham his son was over the king's house, judging the people of Israel. So he's alive. However, his son is going to take up the judgeship during the reign. And a several house, we learn in Leviticus, is just a separate house. Lepers were not allowed to intermingle, and they certainly could not go into the temple. 22. Now the rest of the acts of Uzziah, first and last, did Judah the prophet, the son of Amaziah, write. And yes, he is recorded in Isaiah 6. Isaiah was alive during the reign of this king. 23 to complete this chapter in the reign of Uzziah. So Uzziah slept with his fathers, and they buried him with his fathers in the field of the burial which belonged to the kings, for they said, he is a leper. And Jotham his son reigned in his stead. So he did not go into the sepulchre of the kings, because his very presence there would have defiled all of the remains of all of those kings who were buried there. This video is an outreach of the Essex Methodist Church in Essex, Missouri, and the Crossroads Global Methodist Church in Dexter, Missouri.